I'm going to ask you this question before I get started. Is this how coin dealers rip off people who sell them coins? Because we're going to talk about a very sensitive subject and a gray area in this business that even I sometimes have trouble with and struggle with. It needs to be talked about, and I know a lot of people would like to hear what I have to say, but you don't want to miss this video. My name is Daniel, and you are watching CoinHelpu. I am a coin dealer, and I own a brick and mortar coin shop in Portsmouth, Ohio, and I buy and sell a lot of coins, and I deal with the public on a daily basis. And I want to speak on something, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, so stay tuned. What's this gray area that I'm speaking of? Well, one thing that I want to talk about is that when someone brings a coin like this into the coin shop, it looks circulated to me. NGC graded it 32S AU58. AU58 is 2 points from mint state 60, and that means this coin has hardly any wear to speak of, and it's only on the high points of the design. So the wear on this coin should be barely discernible. And here's the reverse. So someone puts this coin down on the counter in a special holder, and they said, my dad had this. He put it back at 50 years ago or whatever. And he told me that this coin is going to be very valuable in the future, and it's a key date. And I'll be like, I agree. It's a nice coin. And he says, well, I think that it grades mint state 63. I did my research. I looked at photo grade and other images online, and I want, mint state 63 price. So he looked at PCG's price guide, and he saw that the 63 was $615, and he's thinking, you should be at least able to pay me $300, right? You'll send it off for grading, and you'll make a couple $100 on it. And that sounds fair. But I'm looking at the coin, and I'm thinking there might be a little bit of wear on it. And AU58 is $325, and I tell him, I said, look, you want me to pay $300 for it, but this coin looks like it might have some wear. And he might relent and say, well, okay, if you think so, how much you pay me for it? And I tell him, I want to pay $175, or I want to pay, gosh, I don't even want to pay $200 for it because I got to send the grading fees out. I got the fees. I could probably still do at least $200 and then just put up on the site, because sometimes when I have to pay up for something a little more, and I just go ahead and sell it instead of sending it off. Now, let's say I bought this coin, and then I end up just sending off anyways, and I paid him $200 instead. And then it does get 63. Okay, am I supposed to call this guy back and tell him that, NGC said that this coin was actually a 63 like he thought it was, and I owe you a couple $100 or $100 or whatever? I mean, sometimes people don't even put their phone numbers down. I mean, I get their license number and things like that, but I mean, do you know how many coins come through coin shops? I mean, do we have to do that? You'd almost have to open up a department just to do that if you sent off enough coins. Some of these coin shops would, and that's one of the gray areas you start struggling with. So this person that sold this to me, they actually bought it online. I think they bought it from Great Southern Coins, because he actually mentioned them. We talked about them up front, and he asked me what I thought of them, and he bought a lot of his coins from them because, they look like mint state coins. They look like these gem coins that you can buy and send off. I said some dealers will take a coin like this, crack it out, and put it up online. Won't say if it's mint state or not. Just say it's a nice choice coin and let you decide and bid it up. So a coin like this, instead of selling to me for $300 or $200, somebody will bid it up to, $500 or $600 online, thinking they're going to send it off and get a gem. And that happens a lot too. So, this is our ways that dealers can rip coin collectors off and people who sell to them if you're not careful. Now, I don't intentionally do it, but I wouldn't pay more than the $200 for this coin because I know that it's going to be circulated. But what about this one here? This coin graded mint state 66 plus. Now, if we take a look over on PCG's price guide, we'll take a look at this real quick. A 66 plus is a $90 coin. A 66 is a $40 coin. And a 67 is $725. So do you see the conundrum you get into? Because it's nothing. It would be nothing today if someone brought in a roll of these uncirculated. And I don't send them off. I usually just sell them. I sell them single on the site. Like I said, I could send off probably bulk submission. Maybe I'd get lucky and get a 65, but then that would only be $30. So if someone walks in the coin shop with this coin And they're like, I have done my comparisons, man. I think this coin's 66 or a 67. And I'm like, maybe you should send it off yourself. I think at that point you should send it off yourself. But what happens if I buy this basically for $10? Let's say I buy them $10, a whole roll of them. There's 40 in a roll, and I pay $400 for the roll. And I send them off, and one of these gets 67, a $725 coin. Am I supposed to call this guy back that sold me these rolls and tell him I got this huge gem and it's worth a lot of money and I owe you a couple $100 or something? I mean, try to go through all these coins. People bring in boxes of coins, sometimes totes of coins, and you can't just go through all the rolls and pick out the jimmies and say, I'll send these off and we'll make a deal later on it. We'll have an open-ended deal. It's different if someone brought in a 93S Morgan dollar or an 84S Morgan dollar that probably AU58. I mean, then you just want to go ahead and send it off, and you'd try to do a commission deal on it maybe, or let them send it off. I just hate to buy ungraded coins like that. Like the 84S. There's other examples too where coins really jump, like a peace dollar 34S, or potentially a 53S Franklin half dollar with full bell lines on it. I mean, you're talking an expensive coin, and you could argue back and forth with someone that the contact mark on it keeps it from getting it, and then send it off and it gets it. That would be a coin there, though, that you would want just to have sent off before you made a deal on it. And I don't like getting in the habit of sending coins off before I buy them, because then you get into a thing where if you just switch the coin, or they didn't grade the same coin, or is it going to get lost in the mail? And then you've got someone who's going to be calling you or contacting you for 3 months, and then it gets kind of hectic because it's hard to do that. So that's just one of the things in this business that's a gray area that's very difficult to navigate. It's one thing if you're talking thousands of dollars, that's different. But when it comes to a couple hundred or so here or there, I mean, it's got to be kind of considered booty, pirate booty, because you took the chance, you took the risk, you put your funds out there for the coin as well as the grading fees, and then you took the time it took to get that coin back. And if it's worth a few $100s more or a couple $100 more, then coin dealers and me, I don't see anything wrong. Like on one hand, you feel like, maybe you shouldn't do it that way. But if it's going to be, a couple $1,000s or whatever, it's a little different for me. But there's another example here. It's a 44D PCGS Mint 66. And as far as when you're looking at the values, we can go over to the PCGS again. We'll do this one more time with this coin. And you can see that the 44D and Mint State 66 is $225. Someone brings it in, and it's probably a Mint State 60. And they're like, well, I think it's a 65 at least. So I'm not taking less than $100 for it or $75 for it. Well, what if I sent this off and it got 63? I mean, I paid 65 for it. It's one of those gray areas where would you send it off at all? I mean, are you going to get 66 for real though? I mean, would you? They're wanting $100 for it or whatever. I mean, it's one of those things where you're playing the grading game, and a lot of people don't understand it, and don't understand that as a dealer, you have to be able to buy coins. You can't sit down and grade every single coin in a collection and pay what you think that grade is for each coin. So someone will bring in 5 rolls of PU Washington quarters and want you to pay a different price for each one of them because one of them looks 63, one of them looks 65 to them or you, whichever. That's impossible. That would be crazy impossible. So when we're talking about common coins that potentially could slide into that higher grade category, dealers are going to, take that risk and do it. If you want to take that risk and then sell it to the dealer once you find out what grade it is, that's probably a better choice for you. If you think that it's wrong for a dealer to send a coin off and pay 63 price for it, send it off and get 66, and they make an extra couple $100 on it than you thought they was going to, then you should send it off yourself. That would be the best thing to do for you if you're not comfortable with this. But to expect the dealer to grade common grade date coins, I wouldn't. Now, when you got key dates, it's different. When you got CCs and they look like they're uncirculated and all that, that's a little different. When you're talking thousands of dollars or even 1,000 or more, it might end up losing if you don't send it off for grading yourself and sell it. And another question that I want to ask you, coin collectors out there who go to antique booths, who go to flea markets, who buy coins off of maybe eBay, or if you buy off of dealers, raw coins, ungraded coins, when you send them off, if you're one of those that send them off and you get a gem, are you going back to that dealer and paying any more? Or are you going back to that guy at the flea market and paying them more? Or are you going back to that antique booth and paying them more? because it can be reversed here. So you have to think about that when you're watching this video, because we're talking, a gray area here that you could go either way on certain coins. So my recommendation would be to go ahead and join PCGS and NGC. Take that risk yourself. And once that coin's graded, then you can take it to the dealer and get a fair market value for it. But when you're talking about ungraded coins, there's just too many what ifs out there. And then once that coin comes back 2 or 3 months later, and some dealers might not get it out there quick enough. It may be a year. Some dealers do a yearly thing. They'll send all their coins once a year, and then they get back what they get back. And they wouldn't want to sit down and have to call every single person that they basically, someone might think they ripped off or they didn't rip off. You have to kind of move on. It's kind of part of this business. It's one of those gray areas I want to talk about. Please, I want to hear people's comments on this. But one thing about it is, be nice in the comments. I'm not trying to rip people off, and that's not the purpose of this here. But, I do take some risk here, and sometimes I get rewarded. So thanks for watching my latest video. Please like, share, and comment, and have a great day.